Hey, what's good, everybody? This is Eli James. We're back with another heads up training video. For this one, I'm just going to go through some of the more interesting hands, some of the more complicated spots, just so that I can get my whole thought process out for each of the hands, and I won't have to, go through every single hand. Hopefully, most of it's self-explanatory. And for the non-self-explanatory stuff, I'll be able to explain it better. So for here, we just raised, and then we're making a continuation bet. Heads up, you definitely want to be continuation betting a lot. He took a little while to call the flop, so I can't imagine he has any strong piece of the board. 9-10 is definitely in our range. Also hands like 7-8 and Jack-8 are hands that we could have, definitely, for sure. So we managed to take the pot down there. He min raises, so calling is fine here. And go ahead and check to the raiser. He checks pretty quickly, so I can't imagine he has too much of this board. Actually did not give him credit. I can't give him credit at all. So I go ahead and bet on the turn, and he calls. So we hit the 6 on the turn, so we have showdown value. He's going to be calling the turn with a lot of straight draws, a lot of flush draws, sometimes a 10. He bets pretty large, so we have a good idea. He's going to be calling with, or betting with a lot of his missed draws. So he missed his straight draw there, missed his double gutter, so he goes ahead and bluffs at it, and so we're able to take it down. I think showdown value is something that a lot of people should really take more appreciation of. If you have a hand that if you bet with will get called by hands that beat you only, if you check it, either someone checks down with a worse hand, sometimes a better hand, but most of the time they'll check back with a worse hand, or if they're prone to bluffing, they'll bluff at you. And so you can get a lot more value from hands that are going to be good some of the time by checking rather than betting. Eight four is not really a hand that plays very well, so it's fine to fold that. You don't want to fold too many buttons, and you don't want to fold pre-flop heads-up play very often at all, because you have to play to win. There's no times where you can just fold and sit out because there's no one else to get involved in a hand with. Here, all of the draws that he's calling with got there, so no sense in calling or raising there. So just go ahead and fold. Standard raise with the jacks. Now notice how I'm raising the same with pocket jacks as I am with 8-5. You definitely want to balance your strong hands with your weak hands, so it's harder for you to get or someone to get a read on you. For here, we made the continuation bet, and I actually like a check back because again we have showdown value here, and so it's better for us to check back and give him a chance to bluff with a lot of his missed straight draws. And so we were able to pick one off right there. Here we flop the flush draw, so leading out is fine. Check raising is fine too. He calls, so he could have 6-7. He could have 6-8. A lot of times he'll have a king. He'll have a 4. He checks back, so I imagine he has a 4 a lot of the time. And some of the times he has the straight draws. And the 3 got there, which completed 6-7. So a lot of the hands, ace deuce, a lot of the hands he has there are just going to beat us and probably will call a raise bluff. So here he 3-bets. Stacks are pretty deep, so it's okay to call the 3-bet. Generally, I wouldn't recommend flatting against 3-bets or 4-bets pre-flop if you only have like 100 big blind stacks. Here we have like 400 big blinds, so we're actually really deep. So I called here on the flop because the board is paired and I have the nut backdoor flush draw. So I'm able to call because ace high is going to be good a lot of the time, and there's going to be a ton of scare cards on the turn, like the 4 of diamonds, which gives me the straight draw and the backdoor flush draw. So raising here, I like the play because it gets him to fold a lot of his hands, maybe even like a single pair hand, like threes or fives, because we could have flopped full houses, we could have turned a full house, we could have 3 kings, or we could have a flush. There's so many hands that have him drawing absolutely dead that we definitely can raise here for a bluff, and also that if he calls us, there's a solid chance that we have considerable equity for the river. Definitely want to raise with the king queen. He 3-bets again. Again, flatting is fine because especially for this particular opponent, for Josh, he doesn't fold to 4-bets in the history that I've had with him. So 4-betting is probably not going to be an optimal play unless it's going to be done for value. And when you're 4-betting with a hand like king queen against him, a lot of times he's going to be flatting with a medium ace or hands that are going to be flipping against king queen. So when you're playing heads up, you're going to miss the flop 2 out of 3 times. So, and generally, if he's never gonna fold to a 4-bet, then it's cheaper to just flat the 3-bet and try to see a flop instead of 4-betting and then have him flatting your 4-bet, and then you're just in a weird spot on the flop with an even bigger pot than you could have. Here he raised the flop, and then we called the flop, and then I believe it went check bet call on the turn. 9 is definitely a 9 of diamonds, definitely a card that we could have in our range for the flush. Unfortunately, just sniffed it out. I would have liked to see myself bet full pot, or not full pot, but I would have gone all in. I would have jammed there, or just bet like half the pot, but probably would have jammed. Might have gotten him to fold, but it was good for him that he sniffed that one out. Here we flop the gutter, and so we go ahead and check back to the razor, and let's see what he does. Okay, so he bets big. So we call, and then turns a 3, so it makes our hand a little bit stronger. Definitely gives us a lot more showdown value. So I like a check. That's check is fine, and he shows up with the 5s. So he probably, if we check raised, he probably would have called us and called a barrel on the turn to river. So I think that the hand was played pretty well. Here we're just getting, we're just having showdown value. And I just decided to see what he had, and it's just unfortunate. Some of the time king high is going to be good there, but I think when he bets that small, he's just asking for a call. So it was okay. It was a cheap way for me to see what he had. And stacks are deep enough for that's fine some of the time, but you definitely don't want to be making curiosity calls too often, because that can get very pricey. Deuce 6, not a hand that plays very well post flop. Even if you flop, 3, 4, 5 for the 6-eye straight, it could be drawing dead to a 6-7. So it's just fine to fold there. Definitely want to raise with A7. Sorry. Making a continuation bet, and he raises. I like a call here. And is checking back. So he check raised. And I think that was a bad call, because unless he has 8-9, or 9-10. I can't really imagine him bluffing there. I can't think of a hand that doesn't have a jack in it that he's betting for, that, you know, he's betting for value. There's nothing that he's betting for value that we beat, really. So, I mean, it's a tricky spot. I think it's close, but it's fine to check. It's fine to call. I mean, to fold there. My stack at this point is getting pretty small, so I definitely don't want to be bloating up the pot with marginal spots, because I just don't have the room to lose and then have a big enough stack to continue making moves like that. Ace high is going to be good here. Ace high, when you're playing heads up, unless your opponent is very conservative, generally on boards like 4-4-6 with 2 diamonds, if you have ace 8 offsuit, generally you're going to be good a sizable percentage of the time. So calling there is fine as well. I decided to make the value bet there. A lot of times when your opponent, let's see what he had. Okay, so he called with the gutter and then hit a pair on the river. So at that in that spot, definitely want to make it look like you're trying to bluff. Here he 3-bets, and he's been 3-betting a ton. I don't want to be 4-betting because 4-betting folding or 4-betting with the intent to call in a 5-bet jam, simply because if I 4-bet and he flats instead of jamming, then a lot of the times with pocket 7s I'm going to be facing the flop like king 10-6, and I'm not going to be liking it. I'm going to probably have to check, and he's going to be betting with, you know, all of his kings, all of his 10s, and all of his overpairs. So jamming there is the better, I think, is the better play, because it gets him to call off with hands that are worse and puts you in less of a tricky spot. Here I have a big enough stack to 3-bet light, so I definitely decided to 3-bet with the 7s. He jams, and we have to call off the 7s. He shows up with a good hand to beat, but unfortunately he turns 2-pair, and we lose the session. So I hope you learned anything from the session. Definitely going to be having things in the future. See you later.